Yo, we're back with some fantasy help for all you fantasy owners out there. I'm Fowles,
I'm Nick.
and if you watch some of the other videos, we weren't able to pull off a trade online. So sorry. I feel like I let everyone down here. But maybe you guys are sort of in leagues too that you sort of got players that you're trying to figure out what the hell to do with them. And we're gonna talk today about Dejounte Murray, man. He's been out for I think about 2 weeks now. Now he's had hand surgery, I think, out for another 4 to 6 weeks. So he's basically done for the rest of this year. In our league, he was dropped to the waiver wires, which I thought was a really interesting move, man. I don't know. What do you think? What should an owner do if you have Dejounte Murray right now in Fantasyland?
Well, this is the what the hell do I do segment. So just to make sure that we get the branding out. And our last one was about Paul George specifically. And it's funny because I jumped on there and I'm reading the comment and there's a bit of you know what, I'm gonna put this out here right now. Okay? Because you can read the recent comment and I'll respond to this. So um when you don't know information, all you can do is take speculative guesses. So right now, if you're not aware, Paul George is actually expected to make his debut against the Suns. So he's coming back. He's done some scrimmaging. He's ready to go. So that will be interesting. Um, I think everything that I said in the video about bone bruises, it's quite real. I feel like what I said can age well when we get back to the end of the season.
Hold on, are we talking about Paul George or Dejounte Murray?
No, just I just need you to look real quick because you know what? There's people, look, I'll stand by what I said. I don't like
Read me the
Paul
comment.
George
Read
too
me the
long term.
comment. I just realized I
The
can't bring it
comment
up.
says, quote unquote, it says, this aged well, considering he was just a full participant in practice. No wonder Yol got 20 subscribers, LaMayo. Buddy Blabbing didn't get seen by rebound orthopedic. More likely the PT down the road, LaMayo again. So I I look, the way thing is I'm gonna stand by it because here's the thing. Paul George can play tomorrow. In the video I talked about, he might play 5 to 15 games by All-Star break. I stand by what I said. He might have a really good season. Props to him. We don't want to see people fail. We want to see them playing. I've got to give you advice. If he comes back and plays, I stand by saying try to trade him straight away because I think the value's there while his name and prospect is high. So we're talking about Dejounte Murray. Just getting that off my chest.
Good job. I feel you're highly
That's
emotional
two
today,
minutes. We
Nick.
lost you in the first 2 minutes, but we're back. We're
you,
back.
you lost
So
me in the first 2 minutes.
maybe clip this. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe just leave that as a short and just tag that guy and we'll just go at him. Um, so Dejounte Murray had fractured his hand, his left hand, and it was a bit unknown what they were going to do for treatment. And then he went surgery. So he's had surgery and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks. And I feel like in the NBA, it's always safe to assume when they give you a timeline of 4 to 6, 6 to 8, it's always the latter, right? Because their star players, the guy they're paying millions of dollars to, they try to hedge their bets. They want to make sure they're okay. And it's hard to know what New Orleans is going to look like in 8 weeks' time because they seem to roll out a different roster all of the time. So what do you do as a fantasy owner? Well, in our fantasy league, he's been dropped.
Yep.
So they didn't want to stash him in the injury reserve. Maybe someone else would like to pick him up and stash him in the injury reserve. Obviously, you have to have players to do that. That's the hardest part. If you have a completely healthy roster, you would have to drop a player to then stash him and then pick him back up, but you lose the thing, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. What is DeJounte Murray's ceiling? That's probably the question here. We're not talking about Jokic taking 6 weeks off and what do you do? Because that's clearly a stash and hold. You're talking about a guy who might average 20 and 5 and 5 and a steal or two, or he might struggle to fit in with his team. And we have no sample data. We have one game. So
I think
what
I
would
think
I do in this
I, I, I
situation?
I think I can answer that question straight away. Firstly, you mentioned it before, okay? It's like what condition will the Pelicans be in come January, give or take, just before the All-Star break, when he potentially is slated to return? And I think the first projection here that I think me and you probably would agree with is that at best case scenario they're about 500. Yeah, at worst case scenario they're probably 10 games below 500, and they're sort of trying to chase that play-in spots in that situation still, and that's their only hope. Okay. Now you talked about what is Dejounte Murray's ceiling, yeah, and he's actually a player that actually you have data on because he was the main man at the Spurs, if you recall, right? Then he went across to the Hawks. He had to play second fiddle to Trae Young, which was his team. It still continues to be his team, okay? And it was clear that Dejounte Murray is a top quality fantasy player. And I say fantasy player here. Maybe in real life he doesn't translate so well. He's undersized. He needs to play with probably not another undersized guard like they tried in Atlanta. Okay. At the Spurs, his last season when he was an All-Star, 21 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds, 2 steals. Okay. If the Pelicans are continuing to be banged up by the time January rolls around and they're still trying to just make that last dash for maybe trying to grab a play-in spot, playoff play-in spot, DeJounte Murray achieving those sort of numbers, or even let's say 27 and 7, is a win. Is a win. You're not going to find any other player that's going to give you that sort of production at that point of the season on the free agency wire besides streamers and maybe some sort of lucky rookie that suddenly everything's starting to click for them. Okay, on the worst case scenario here, he's everyone's healthy. CJ's back. All the other Trey Murphy's back. Herb Jones is back. Everyone's back for the Pelicans, which they probably feel good about themselves now. They're at full strength. They're trying to push, to get into the top six, maybe to avoid the play-in, and you'd feel maybe they got that sort of potential. Zion's remained healthy. Dejounte Murray averaging similar to what he was doing with the Hawks, maybe a few less points. Okay, so let's say even 15, 6 and 6, 15, 5 and 5. That's still a fantasy quality player that's worth rostering at this point. So keep it simple, man. I swear you should hold him right now. You got him. You hold him. I would not have dropped him. Keith did drop him, man. What are you saying? Are you saying that you should drop him? Because I think that's what you're leaning towards. Is that correct?
It's where I'm leaning towards because I guess I look at myself. I look at myself who currently has 3 players injured, one of which is an all-star, clearly a stash, and the other 2 I'm unsure about. So, I did humor the idea of should I drop one of my players that are injured and then pick him up and stash him, right? But I think the thing that brings me reservation is the New Orleans part. So yeah, he might return and be the only guy in New Orleans left and just have crazy all-star numbers again. But he also may not come back. I don't know. I just there's something. This is probably a deeper question as well. But is there something in the culture of New Orleans, or is there something going on with that team? Because people just don't play there. CJ McCollum was pretty consistently playing at Portland, and then he goes to New Orleans, and he has gaps in his resume now all of a sudden. And Brandon Ingram was relatively present on the Lakers, and then obviously takes the surge at New Orleans, but again has very inconsistent play. Zion doesn't play a lot, and I understand that every player is different, and they have their own injury battles and whatever it may be. But DeJounte Murray was consistently playing like 70 games a season, and now he's already poised to not play that, just off potentially a freak accident. These things happen. It's a hold if you have it. It's a explore trades on that pitch that you just did, where hey man, he's gonna be back in 5 weeks. That's still enough time for you to make a push. If you're not winning by that stage, that's why you hold him. I'm not holding him so that he can be on my team at finals, but I'd probably hold him and explore stuff because you can sell high on what he is. And his first game in 30 minutes, 14 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. That's a very good game. Didn't shoot well, but that happens to everyone at the start of the season. That's what you'd
Hey,
sell him on.
hey, I like it. So I think we're similar page here. I just got a last one just to round this one out on Dejounte Murray, man. That Sengun kid that you're trying to trade. Would you
Yep.
trade him for a guy that's going 28 and 8 with 2 steals?
28 and 8 with 2 steals. Who's that?
We're talking January maybe.
28 and 8 with 2 steals.